Okay, good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Welcome to HIMAP's fourth meeting with members and friends. Before we continue, we would just like to remind everybody to please put your microphone on mute while discussion is ongoing. And we would like to invite you to message in your questions later, and we will do our best to answer everyone's concern. Again, thank you for your time to be with us in this beautiful Friday afternoon, and rest assured that today's session will be an hour of learning and inspiration. So today's theme is about conversations post enhanced community quarantine. And to tell us more about that, I'd like to introduce our president to welcome and officially open our session, Mr. Roger Salazar.
Thank you, Bachi. So for our folks here, we're trying to do this on a regular basis just to share information for everyone. I hope you find it useful. I wanted to actually first and foremost introduce Bachi De Leon, or Maria Susana De Leon. She's our executive director of HIMAP. And so she's helping us, and thanks to her and the team, they've been able to organize these sessions on a regular basis. Great. So on that note, today we wanted to talk a little bit more about what post ECQ will look like. We also understand that earlier today in the morning, our president was telling us that I think certain parts of the country will continue on ECQ. That includes Manila and many other cities. But then there are areas that are moving to a GCQ format, or general community quarantine, which is a little bit more lax, and will allow some industries to get started in different sectors, allow people to go outside, and but still, of course, subject to certain restrictions, primarily because as we all know, we don't have a vaccine yet available, and we know a vaccine is available maybe 12, 18 months from now. So it'll be some time. So as we get started, we'll just cover a few more topics. We'll also have several. We have Don Felbong with us, who will moderate the session later. We have a panel members, and thanks to our panel members composed of Jamea Garcia's with us. We also have Joey Marquez, and we also have Prince from Access Healthcare with us. So thank you for our panel members for helping us through this session. Basically, we'll cover a little bit more about what we think the demand will look like post quarantine. We all know our markets, especially the large developed countries, are going through the same thing we're going through in this pandemic. We'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll also cover what we think our new normal will look like post ECQ. As the president announced on May 1, certain areas in the country will go through GCQ, or a more relaxed version. We'll try to see how that turns out, because typically after our president makes an announcement, we get a lot of the implementing rules and regulations that follow after that from the different government agencies and so forth. So we'll wait to hear what that looks like. But one thing's definitely sure, our world will be a little bit different compared to what it used to be before this whole thing happened. Primarily because on the next 12 to 18 months, since we don't have a vaccine yet, we will have to operate. We will try and attempt to operate as best as all of us can, given this new situation. So obviously, there'll be a lot of changes in how we do things. Number one, limited gatherings. That will be definite as we continue to go through what our new normal will look like. Obviously, travel restrictions will be there. Number three, hygiene requirements. It'll be normal to be walking around with masks and having gloves. We never did that before. In some of our countries, I think in Asia, that's more accepted, but I think in the Western world, not so much. And then there'll also be a group of individuals, primarily the elderly folks and the younger generation, that might be more vulnerable. So a certain level of protection, a restriction will be allotted for that group. And as a result of all of these things happening, everyone's been doing work from home, right? It's remote working. How will that develop? We also know that access to e-commerce and logistics will change. Delivery organizations, logistics organizations will have to evolve, even better models to look and see how this whole new normal will look like. what so going through a few examples here for you. With the work from home setups, I think companies moving forward will be looking to reduce office space. I think as a result of this, we've realized the work from home concept that was going to change how our new models will look like. We will have larger percentage of our groups working from home as a result of this. In a conversation last week hosted by CCAP with DG Plaza of PEZA, she indicated the opportunities to see how this can grow and how work from home can be extended. But definitely, special equipment and different models of video and audio setups will evolve as a result of this. Everyone's using Microsoft Teams, everyone's using Google Hangouts, which we're using here. This all these other things, Zoom, what have you, they're going to evolve. So that's one set of developments. The other thing that's also happening is takeout and home delivery. We all know that's going to influence and affect the supply chain for many of our industries. That so new models, advanced supply chain optimizations will happen. There will also be specialized delivery solutions that will evolve as a result of different things, from food to products to many different things that will evolve. And that will also result to packaging redesigns. There'll be packaging that will focus more on hygiene, that packaging that will focus on cleanliness, contact-free deliveries and drop-offs. Those will be new models that we might see moving forward. I did mention travel restrictions, so we can break down travel restrictions. Maybe when we get out of this, maybe local tourism might pick up sooner, but traveling to other countries might be a little bit more challenging, might be a little bit more difficult, because we'll have to factor in a quarantine period, whatever that will be in that particular country, right? So these things will eventually evolve as we see things going. Other things we might look at. There's going to be a lot of reskilling and training that will evolve. Post-quarantine or post-crisis, new models will evolve. In our last conversation, we did talk about how companies will now optimize productivity without having to rely on labor. They'll look at automation, they'll look at different modes to be able to do things. And because of that, reskilling and training will see new models evolve, not only because of the demand to reskill and retrain the workforce. It's also because we have people and we have to prepare them for the future, right? On all of us. Another example I was looking at was really more along the lines of the older generation, these folks. So this might lead to a lot of communities with special needs for those of a certain age. And they will have their own retail options because they're limited mobility and so forth. They will have their own activities, even events. We used to have in the Philippines, as you all know, we all have a lot of weddings. I don't know how that's going to look like moving forward, or even gatherings and rituals. So that will eventually evolve. So these are just examples of what it might look like. We all know several industries will be affected as a result of this, changes in consumer behavior. Obviously, tourism is going to be hit hard. Sports, as we all know, is also going to be hit hard. The ones that might be doing quite well, pharmaceuticals will continue because we need the medicines, we need all of these. Retail, food will also be there. A couple of other sectors that might be affected. I know we have a liquor ban, and I know many were looking forward to hoping they might celebrate next week. But obviously for us in the Manila, that's going to be extended. But hopefully, we'll see how things go. Other industries are going to evolve and eventually change as a result of this. So just wanted to share a few thoughts, a few ideas here to our folks on the call and this meeting. Look forward to our conversations and then discussions later. We have a lineup here. We have a good group of people and panel who will be helpful in sharing their experiences and their plans with us. Look forward to that conversation. So thank you, and I welcome everyone to this session. Bachi?
All right. Thank you very much, Sir Roger. Today we have actually invited a special guest this afternoon as a moderator for a panel discussion. And aside from that, he will be sharing his insights on today's topics. His professional experience actually includes 30 plus years of involvement in technology sectors, including telecoms, IT-enabled services, and information and communication technology, and has a business experience in over 25 countries worldwide. His professional affiliation includes director, ex officio of the American Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, Director, Philippine Association of Multinational Companies, Regional Headquarters, Inc., or PAMURI, and advisory board in various companies, including being a member and advisory board at IBCAP. Well, let's talk about his professional achievements. He served as one of the board of directors of American Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines for over 10 years and a past president of the chamber in 2002, a fellow of the Institute of Corporate Directors, or ICD, and he has co-authored a number of technology sector reports and articles. Currently, he is the managing director of Opta Limited, an ICT consulting firm for 30 years. Friends, let's all welcome Mr. Donald Falbom. Donald? Don, are you there? Don? You can unmute now. Yes, I think he's having a problem
Yeah,
with his microphone.
yeah, Don's still on mute. Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, hi. There you go, Donald. Hello. Yes.
Thank you very much for
The
that
floor
warm
is yours.
introduction, Bachi. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I apologize for some snafus with my laptop. Mic is having some difficulty, so I'm operating from the phone. But I want to thank Roger and Judy and the board for giving me an opportunity to share with you today and be part of your monthly meeting. So I'm very happy to be here, and it's nice to get a chance to interact with some of your members today. I wanted to start with something on the macro. Bachi, if you can help me with the first slide. I think what we're all talking about here is something very, very serious. And at the chamber, we also meeting on a weekly basis, very much like HIMAP. And the things that we're discussing is, what's the impact globally, what's the impact regionally, and what's the impact of the Philippines. So I think we all realize that the current situation with the pandemic is pushing us into a global depression. And if we stay there for a number of months, that depression, that recession can move to a depression. And that's what we're all worried about. So we're all working very hard to make sure that that doesn't happen. I show a couple slides here just to give you a quick snapshot. This is what IMF is saying on output losses. So you can see that they're looking at something like $9 trillion is going to be the output loss as we move forward this year. So the pandemic is for real, and it's very, very difficult. Some of the slides that I have here, I think Roger has covered. These were some notes that I've taken from my AmCham meeting, as some of the HIMAP members are members of AmCham as well. We're all worried about the landscape. We're looking 60 days out. I noted in our last board meeting at AmCham, all corporate travel is banned at this time. And just about everybody, with the exception of some senior executives, are working from home. You guys all know that. There's plans of downsizing or right-sizing. CapEx are constrained right now because of the financial concerns. Some sectors have got hit more than others, and I show a couple here on the slide. The less impacted are logistics, the financial services, the e-commerce guys. Of course, the ones that really got whacked are the travel and hospitality, the retail companies. So these guys are all struggling at this time. What I'm hearing is that cash flow is the key now. All companies are trying to conserve cash flow. Nobody knows what's really going to happen for the second half of this year. So I think I'm sure my friends from HIMAP are doing the same thing. The management is trying to ensure that there's enough cash to keep the business going for the next 6 months. Some of the topics for further discussion, I think I heard you guys talking earlier. I think regular fire chats with your employees, focus on cash conservative management, right sizing for the second half of 2020. If you're not fully digital by now, the transformation should be very soon, that's for sure. And developing a COVID-19 testing plan. And I want to talk to you for a few minutes on that for you all to think about it. I attended one of the meetings with IBPAP, and I guess I realized that everybody's thinking about it, but not very many companies have put together a comprehensive testing plan. So when it's time to go back to the sites, everybody feels safe and business can move forward in a normal such fashion. But I think Roger said it right. There is a new norm. It's impacting all of us, and we have to adapt. We have to be flexible. We have to be nimble, and we have to be cooperative. And I think this is the battle cry as we move forward the second half of the year. These some slides I have on the time frame. Everybody's always asking, Don, how long do you think that this is going to last? Well, I'm not an expert in this, but I attended some webinars, and I picked up a couple of slides that I wanted to share with you. This was done by Lockforce, and Lockforce basically has indicated some dates here. The initial onset was in early March, and then they're saying is that the disruption could continue through this year. And I think what I'm hearing from the healthcare professionals, and I attended a meeting with ARC, which is a organization that's set up by Joey Concepcion and a bunch of other people to try to bring testing to the private sector. And they have a good plan, and they have approved test kits, and they're trying to work with the private sector to get everybody tested. But we all know that the vaccine is really the answer, and that's what the president had said today on his morning telecast, that a proven vaccine is really the safest way and the only way forward. And I think just about everybody agrees on that. Batsy, if you could move to the quarantine restriction phase. This just gives a broad brush on different phases. As you know, the enhanced community quarantine is in play today. We're all hoping that today there would be a modified community quarantine. It doesn't look like it's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. And of course, there's already ongoing barangay community quarantines trying to manage those selected hot areas that the government has identified to keep the virus from spreading. Here's one that I like very much. It's called the hammer and the dance. As you all know, the key in managing the virus was flatten the curve, and that's what we call the hammer. The dancing is we adjust to the policies and circumstances as we go forward the second half of the year. So I think this really depicts very well the kind of things that we've experienced so far and will continue. At the end of the day, what it's really all about is this slide called the challenge for 2020. It's sustaining the business, but it's also protecting the employee health care. When I had a chance earlier this week, we had AmCham board had a meeting with presidential advisor Joey Concepcion. He said, Don, this is really what it's all about, trying to find that delicate balance. We got to get people back to work, people earning their salaries to sustain their families, but we have to do it in such a fashion that we don't put people in jeopardy. And this, I think, is really the challenge with all of us, whether we're in the Philippines, we're in the United States, we're in Europe, it's finding that right balance. And that's what we're all working for. One of the things I want to share with you is I am chairman of the AmCham Healthcare Committee meeting, which Judy and Roger know very well, and some of you others have attended my meetings in the past. We are going to have a session on 30th of April, next Thursday, to talk about the importance of testing. And I think what I'm hearing is everybody realizes it, but there's a lot of confusion on the testing. Is the rapid test the right way to go? How do you do it? Who can help them and that kind of thing. So I brought in an expert from North America to talk about this, and he spent the last 25 years in this testing area, and he's going to share his experiences with this. So I invite all of you to join me for this session next Thursday, and that'll maybe give you some information that you can use to help yourself and your companies prepare for some kind of a testing plan, which I think is extremely critical. Many of the BPOs have told me, Don, we'd like to send all our people back to the sites when we get clearance, but the real issue is we want to have them tested and make sure that they're not going to infect other people when they come back to their sites. So I think testing becomes essential as we go forward. So I think that takes the time that Roger and Judy have allocated for me. It's just a quick snapshot on a couple key things that I think are relevant to you guys. I would ask Batchy if you could help me with the introductions for our panel speakers, and then I'll take it from there. Batchy?
Okay. Yes, Miss Judy will actually do the introduction for our panelists. Miss Judy, you can take it from here, please.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to the rest. So it's my pleasure again to introduce the panelists for today, and thank you for joining us. First, I would like to introduce to you a very good friend of mine. She's the Vice President for Human Resources of Alorica. She's been an HR executive in the Philippine BPO industry and has been considered as one of the pioneers in this field. Currently, this lady has the human resources, as I mentioned, of Alorica, Philippines, and Asia Pacific, and including Australia. Her role, she oversees all the HR function areas such as recruitment, compensation, benefits, and employee relations. Prior to Alorica, she was the BPAP Executive Director for Talent Development, managing the strategy and implementation of all talent-related initiatives for the industry. This included the expansion of industry awareness, the preparation of emerging next wave cities, strategic competency development for academia and industry, and partnerships with government and corporate stakeholders for the growth and enhancement of the talent and labor pool nationwide. So let me introduce to you a lady lawyer by profession, and before she joined BPO industry, she was a full-time practicing labor and employment lawyer with one of the country's law firm. Actually, I first met her in 2004, or that was last week. So during the HIMAP induction. So let us welcome Attorney Jamea Garcia. Okay. Hi, Jam. Thank you again. So the next panelist is the Assistant Vice President and Country Head of Manila, of the Philippines, of Access Healthcare. Okay. He has been with the healthcare industry for over 16 years in the service delivery to large-scale physician and hospital revenue cycle management service clients. Prior to joining Access Healthcare, he served as a key account manager with Dell Services, Inc. And prior to Dell Services, he also served as an associate operation manager with Vision Health Source. This man has the experience of transitioning the processes for over 25 mid and large-scale clients over the span of his career. He began his career with Nittany Decision Services as an AR representative and subsequently moved into operation management. At Vision Health Source and Claro System, he was part of the team that established voice-based programs such as accounts receivable, follow-up with credit balance. Later on, he moved into the role of Team Account Manager of Dell Services and responsible in handling multiple clients, managing 700 employees across India and the Philippines. He was delegated to Manila to oversee the setup and management of the entire operation for a period of over 6 months and has now successfully completed courses in project management and management training workshops. I am happy to have Mr. Prince Hesadus, the Assistant Vice President and Country Head of Manila Access Healthcare. Welcome, Prince.
Thank you, Judy. Hello, everyone.
Thank you. And last but not the least, I am happy to introduce to you, and thank you very much for joining us. This man is, I may say, a silent worker. He is overall, yes, an overall 40 years of experience. He joined Cognizant from Accenture, where he was managing director and responsible for large-scale operations for clients in telco and network operation industry. He started his journey in BPS industry with Sutherland Global Services, where he managed operation for clients in e-commerce, retail, telecom, and financial services. This guy that I will be introducing started his career in brand management at Procter& Gamble, Philippines, and subsequently worked in Sony Life Insurance. He holds a degree of management engineering, major in operation research from the Ateneo de Manila University. I'm happy to introduce to you Mr. Jose Luis Marquez, or Joey in short, but it's not the artista. Joey, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Judy.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Miss Judy, for introducing our panelists. Back to you, Don.
Yes, I think we have an all-star cast today. I welcome Jamea, Prince, and Joey for the panel. I've got a number of questions. I will ask you guys for your comments and inputs, and I think we can take some questions right, Bachi, from the audience as well. So I'll kick it off so we can keep everybody on time. First question. What are the best practices from the industry colleagues that you're learning about? I'd like to address that to Joey. Joey, could you give us some inputs under these trying times? What are the things that are working and what things are not working?
Thanks, Donald. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. So I'll have a long answer to that. There are basically three principles or strategies, tenets, you may want to call it, right, that I want to talk about. And we'll spend, some time on each. One is really foresight. Second is fulfillment. And third is differentiation. Each of these tenets are actually very important, and we have experienced, a new business, whether that's coming from existing clients or new logos in each of this aspects. So let me talk about foresight first. It's really, we saw this coming in Cognizant Philippines, and I'm short to say that we were really prepared, for it. The crystal ball was obviously what's happening in the world, right? We saw this in China. We have some experience in China, so we knew that eventually it will come to the Philippines. So we had to prepare for it. And if not for that, we would have not been able to accomplish 95% work from home enablement in the 96 hours that were given to us, right? And I'm talking about close to 9,000 people working from home. We have a few folks who are still working in office. We have about 3 clients who did not agree to work from home arrangement. But overall, such a great accomplishment, I think. And since we were preparing for this, we were able to proactively work on client approvals, getting all the corporate security protocols in place, right? And as mentioned, right, was able to deploy, close to 9,000 desktops and laptops in that 96 hours. Along the way, we were also preparing for a work from home, command center, IT support, right? So that after enabling work from home, we can guarantee fulfillment. So let me talk about fulfillment. So at the end of the day, even if you have work from home capability, what you need to do is ensure that you're able to meet, if not exceed, SLAs or service level, right, with your clients. And we have achieved that to date. No penalties, and we have received, uh, a ton of, really good, client accolades because of that. As mentioned earlier, because of work from home, command center, and IT support, right, we're able to make our people most productive, as BAU, and even in some cases even more productive, right? So during the time of foresight, and we were able to do work from home enablement. I mean, obviously there were some opportunities that came to that came because some of our peers or competitors were not able to enable work from home, and as a result, there was some increase in terms of headcount, right? New business coming in from organic growth, right? And as we were obviously fulfilling, SLAs and productivity and all that, right? And really focusing on that on a day-to-day basis, more opportunities came again, right? In not just in healthcare, but across business units. Finally, I want to talk about differentiation because um, you know, obviously we may have peers or competitors doing the same thing, but what will differentiate us if we can do it better, right? So better SLAs, better attendance, better employee engagement, right? Better retention, and all that, right? So that's one aspect. But if we can further differentiate ourselves through technology or assets, knowledge base assets, people, right? Or technology, digital solutions that will really set you apart from the others, then that's definitely bringing new business to us as well. So I'm sorry for the long answer, but I just really wanted to share that foresight, fulfillment, and differentiation during these times is most needed, right, to ensure new revenues coming in, right, and obviously taking care of our people.
Joey, that's excellent. Let me add one thing. Since you have a background in telecom, I talked to a number of companies that had difficulty in some parts of Metro Manila for connectivity for their work at home people. What was your experience there?
So, I mean, it's really a combination of solutions, right? Having multiple providers, leveraging on people who already had internet connection, uh, and obviously having that 24/7 IT support, to be able to fix problems, right? In coordination with the providers, and at the same time, it could also be internal issues, uh, given the encryption of the desktop, right, and the different solutions placed on the desktops and the laptops to ensure data privacy and all that, right?
So out of your 9,000 work at homes, more or less, how many would you say really had difficulty with their connectivity during these last couple weeks?
So we experienced 2 to 3% of that number, especially in the first week of operations, and eventually had to switch, different combinations of solutions, right? Whether it's a provider or even shift timings and all that.
Oh, that's excellent. 2 to 3 is really outstanding. I had some people said, Don, up to 20% was our challenge. And like you, they were trying many different solutions to get everybody connected. So that's excellent. Let's move on. The next one I'm going to throw it to Jamea because she has expertise in the labor side. What percentage, Jamea, of the workforce do you think has been placed on furlough during this ECQ period? And for those who can't work on site or from home,
Okay,
any
hi Don.
ideas?
Well, okay. First, thank you to Judy, Roger, and the rest of the HIMAP board for asking me to be part of this panel. And Don, thank you. Okay, that's a difficult question. It will really depend on industry company by company. But
Mm,
for example, in our case, although we have I'll speak for Alorica. Well, the company in particular, I think the BPO, because of the size, I would say a lot of furlough is meaning that these are the stranded employees, not because each company in the Philippines, we don't really have a furlough. I know a lot of our companies, and we've discussed this in the CCAP HR Council. We find ways to at least pay the employees for this period. It might not be the whole period, but I would say that probably about 50% for the big BPOs,
mhm.
40 to 50% will really be what I would call, instead of furlough, is the employees that are not working, have no capability to work at home for various reasons, and cannot also be part of your skeletal workforce.
Jamea, can you talk about this classification that Dole has come out with called floating employees? Do
The
you have
floating,
any?
okay. So floating employees, these are, okay, floating employees, we had this even before the ECQ period. So if you recall, part of what we're allowed to do under the labor regulations is that, because the goal is really to keep employees as much as possible. Like in the Philippines, we're guaranteeing security tenure. We want to keep the employees as much as we can. So there's a provision in the code saying that you can actually temporarily suspend operations, at least for this set of employees, for a maximum period of 6 months. So these are really your floating employees. So which means that you keep them in your list of employees, but they're not being paid salaries. But you can do that for a maximum period of 6 months. So I
Okay.
would assume that during this period we have these people in this status.
So let's say I had a customer who wanted less support, less seats, less personnel. You could temporarily move these people over to a floating status until you pick up some new business or new assignments for them. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, and I think that's normally being done even prior to the ECQ. Now it has become more, I think, apparent because as we go, even as we go back or into post-COVID, we know that the business will be changing. There will be a different, depending on the industry. There's some businesses that will increase, but there are some businesses that will really be affected by this, and it will affect also our employee base as well.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Jamea. That's good insights. I'll throw a question at Prince. Prince, what do you think about the talent pool behaviors from a talent acquisition perspective will change once they are in the new norms? What do you think will happen as we go forward for the second half of the year?
Yeah, I think the talent pool will be still available. The question is, are the companies ready, to pick them up and provide all the necessary assets during this? Let's say if it's a lockdown period, that's exactly what everybody's question. How do we get systems back to these folks? Because hiring is covered. Online hiring can be done. Training, virtual training, we are all currently doing with a couple of our clients that we've started pretty new. And we've always been doing online training through WebEx, where clients from the US train our people. So that's not a bigger challenge. The bigger challenge is about how do you set someone to be successful in what they're going to do. So that's a bigger question. One is basically technology point of it. I think yes, the current technology, the telephone companies are really doing well if it is from a company perspective, getting the bandwidth, service after the sales, everything is pretty good. But for a public sector or a private sector, for individuals, even if they want to get a line, because a lot of people are willing to start work, but there are people who don't have the opportunity to work because dongles don't work in their area, depending on which area they are, and they don't have good broadband to support voice component kind of work. So if the technology teams really help people who wants internet connection, if they can swiftly do that, I think it'll be pretty much smooth when there are a lot of opportunities. Because if you take a look at it, across the world, everyone has this problem, and there is a slowdown in the volume that is available today. But once it gets back, I think it's going to really hit hard, and we should be really prepared to get that volume and to meet all the requirements the client is have.
Thank you, Prince. That was a good response. I have a question from one of our members. This is from Butch. Butch is saying that we heard this morning from the president that he wants to give incentives to move some of our businesses outside Metro Manila. So the question is, will there be some incentives from PEZA to help some of the BPOs get new sites so they can actually do that? So I'm going to ask Jamea to comment on that. Do you think we can get support from PEZA to identify new sites so we can open up new centers in the provincial areas?
I hope we can. I'm not sure. I think we'll have to discuss with PESA on that. But I think first, I know, like even us, like our goal really, even prior to COVID, is to move a portion of our business outside Metro Manila. But maybe I'm not sure if this is just my opinion. It might be a different view for the rest. But I don't know how things will come after COVID. But the reality, what I'm seeing, because we do have substantial operations outside Metro Manila, but there's certain challenges in growing the provincial areas as well. In terms of first, it's the talent. It's that because it's not how do I say it? It's not, the talent pool available is different because a lot of it is really in Metro Manila, and second, some of it is the like because we're a third party BPO. Part of it is the readiness to do the job, um, because that's still. Okay, I've been at it since I started in BPAP back 2007. It's 2020. Believe me, there's still um, challenges in convincing people to work for a call center, especially if you're a new player or it's just the first time that you're setting up a BPO. But slowly, I think it's good because I think that's the only way. That's part of where we can expand, and it's really to go outside of Metro Manila. But we also have to look at more than like incentives of setting up a site. I think the whole infrastructure should be there.
I totally agree with you. You need the talent, you need the connectivity, and of
Yes.
course, like you said, you got to have the right site locations to make it attractive. That's for sure. You got transportation issues and things like that. No,
Yes,
you're
because
well
yeah,
said.
like thanks, Don.
Uh, Joey, as we move forward the second half of 2020, we will continue to have challenges. If we have to go another 30, 60, or 90 days because the Metro Manila virus situation is not calibrated properly, and I think the key that the president and his cabinet are saying is that we need more testing to get numbers to make an educated guess as to how we best go forward. So they're buying time. And so the testing is starting now. I think the last number I looked was about 60,000. It's quite small. We should be, up to 500,000 by now, but that will come in due course. So the question, Joey, is how can we sustain keeping those SLAs that you say very high, keep the employee personnel, keep them happy, keep them working, keep them safe? Share some of your thoughts as we go down the path the next 60, 90 days.
Sure. So, since the pandemic started, we have always thought that, we will go slow even in the event that, the quarantine is lifted. We've always taken that, Cognizant has always taken that stand from the very beginning. And that's why work from home enablement was very, very important for us. That's why we, pretty much prepared for it, right? Now to your question on, so what does going slow mean, right? So even if it's lifted, obviously with client approval, we intend to keep a big percentage of our work from home model or arrangement, right? We don't intend to go back right away to the offices. And even for, I think I mentioned earlier about 3 clients that have not approved, work from home.
Yes.
We're actually very close to getting those approvals. And some of the restrictions there is if you need a PCI environment, all that, right? But there are digital solutions to be able to resolve that. And we're almost there in making that happen. So it's close to saying that we can be very close to 100% work from home arrangement. And so it goes back to what I said earlier, right? I intend to go back very, very slowly, since there's no a real concrete solution yet to this virus, right? Now, obviously, you need to make your end-to-end business as BAU as possible, right? From recruitment to training, that was mentioned earlier, to employee engagement, right? Performance management, all of that, right? Needs to be as close as possible to BAU, right? So, HR really needs to, pretty exciting to see a lot of online engagement activities. I'm witnessing that. In the next couple of weeks, we'll have our awards event, right? Online and all that. So pretty good stuff. I think if there's only one limiting factor, is on the background check. Because if you're recruiting, obviously very difficult to get background checks, and it can only be limited to some online checks to be able to make that happen. And as long as client agrees to, such limitation, they sign off to that, then you're good to go.
Okay, that's good. Thank you for that response. One of the things that has been kicked around in the last 2 weeks, of course, the $1 million question is when things settle down and when they settle down, how long will it take before we can go back to some kind of norms? So I've got different inputs from the medical side. Basically, they're saying is until we're really assured that the virus has been localized and minimized, that we've had in the last 40 plus days. So the medical guys aren't very willing to take any major risk to starting too soon. And you're seeing that in the States. Some of the governors want to get their people back to work, but the general feeling is if it's not safe, why would you risk yourself, your family, your colleagues, and your friends? So the general feeling is that, as you rightly said, Joey, it'll take some months. It'll be slow ramp up. It'll be step by step, and we'll test the waters to see if everything is safe and sound. So that's this could really go on for the rest of the year. Many people are saying is it's not going to be safe until the vaccine is out and we're all unvaccinated, and we're looking at least 12 to 18 months out from that. So if that gives you any kind of indication, that's what the healthcare professionals are telling me. I think I have enough time for one more question. This is from And Chum is asking, what's the impact to the data privacy laws now that we're working from home? Will there be some changes over the next couple years to have some flexibility there? Of course, the U.S. Is very strict. You guys work under HIPAA. The financial guys have a different set of regulations. It's very challenging. So I know in the case of Cap One, who's one of the largest banking institutions in the United States, they really have some difficulty in working from home because the U.S. laws do not permit them to do that. So, Jamea, maybe being a lawyer, you might want to comment on, the easing of the data privacy laws to help us be more effective here.
Don, I don't think there'll be easing. Especially, in fact, I think we should be stricter if we will do a lot of work from home arrangements because, for example, because of the sensitivity of the data, that's
Mm-hmm.
why, like, for example, in particular, in our case, like some of the clients we have difficulty moving to work at home is because precisely whether it's financial care, because of all the restrictions. And I don't think there will be a lifting. There might be a few modifications, but I don't think we should ease out. We got some waivers for a few, but only for the interim. But in the long term, we'll have to look at that because part of it is we don't want, because you're scared of when data gets to be leaked, it affects not just the um that company but the industry as well. So you don't want that happening. So
Um, um,
I don't think,
there
yeah,
be any restrictions? Okay.
yeah.
I think when I'm talking about restrictions, as you heard earlier, there are many companies, many clients are not letting you operate from home. So in that sense, it seems like as Joey was saying, they've been working to comply with what kind of
Mhm.
requirements they might need to put in place so that the employees can work from home. So that's what I mean by easing, not by changing, I guess, any of the data privacy laws. That's not going
So
to happen. I agree
for
with you.
some, Don, we were able to get a waiver for some
Okay,
of just for the interim,
just
but
for
it's
the
not a
interim.
long term. Yeah, it's not a long term solution. So
Okay.
that's part of our recovery strategy is really to lay down what, because there's clients that we think that we will not be really able to work from home permanently. So that's and so there's some that can do work from home. So that's part of what we're looking at as well. And I think that should also be part of the recovery plan, especially if you service like multiple clients in different industries, because there's certain realities that we must face, right?
Yes, for sure.
Mhm.
With that note, I wanna defer to Batchy. Batchy said, Dawn, make sure that you hard stop at 1:55 p.m. I have a couple more questions from the members. Batchy, do we have another 10 minutes, or would you like me to bring closure
Yes,
at this time?
you can
Eh,
still.
Yes,
Continue.
we
Yes.
can have one last question, Don.
Okay. So one of the things, and I think this relates to Sheila's question about, assuming that vaccines are not forthcoming, uh, what can we do to get our people back to the site? So what I heard the other day was one of the key issues is transportation. If the LRT or MRT are opened up and the buses, yeah, all we need is one person traveling on one of those buses or LRTs that drops his viruses, and that BPO person takes the virus back to the site and then starts to infect other people. So many people are saying, Don, until the transportation is clearly safe for our people, there is no way we're going to let them use public transportation. So that's really an issue. So Prince, I'm going to throw this question at you. Please give me your comments on that.
That's a very good question. Yeah, that's something that we are also thinking about. How do we bring people? One is basically to look at how do you test people. Yeah, you can do a test once, but it doesn't guarantee you that you will not get this virus after the testing. So, vaccine is one, and the second thing is, do we even have anything that have a treatment to cure? So that's a bigger question, and people, especially the mindset that even if the government lifts the ban up and starts everyone to, you could go back and work. It's about the mentality of people. Would they want to come to office and work because of the questions that they might have, saying whether, what happens. It's the same question, not just the BPO. Take a look at their families, right? They have their own families. If they want to travel and they go back home, they could take the virus back to their family as well. So I think it is a bigger problem that we everybody will face when somebody wants to refuse to work. What else can you do, right? You could sanitize your office. You could provide masks. You could provide any medication that is that we could help people, or we can even connect with our HMOs to see if they could do the testing in large batch. But it's all about the mindset of people. If I want to go to work, whether I will choose to go to work or would I want to work from home. So that's one thing that we need to really do it. But we can definitely draw some lines, basically, with all the technology issues that we still have, for especially the voice component, where you're not able to have a good connectivity at home. I think that will push people to even try it out. But, safety wise, I think we really have to, take all the precautions that is available today, but and operate in, social distancing, like initially what we've been discussing. It could be, 50% of the capacity of your facilities today, but that means 50% of people would definitely be working from home. So it's a question of whether you want to bring the people to office right now, or keep them where they are. Because if you take a look at a lot of companies, they've done it very well. I think they've answered to the pandemic by deploying systems. At least 90-95% of people are working from home, where we are able to provide work for people. But the question is, how do we get this going? Yeah, even I have a lot of questions around that. I keep asking my HR, are we ready if the ban is lifted? So that's something that we all are waiting for as well. I don't have the answers. I wish I had some answer to it, but definitely, that's a bigger question that I also have.
Okay, excellent. Let me just make a couple comments in closing, and then I'll turn it back to Bing for the final word. I just want to remind you guys that we're in this next reset. So the first reset was 28 days, second reset 14 days, and now we're working on the third reset. By the time we're done, we'll have 56 days under quarantine. So that's quite an accomplishment. And I compliment all of you guys, because you essentially got 1 day notice and you all reacted. You were able to shift the work to home, get the equipment, the connectivity up. It's really, I applaud all of you. I can only imagine you guys were working 96 hours a day to get that all in place, to make it happen, and ensure your customers were taken care of. So well done job for all of you. What I learned is that, in the Philippine setting, 50% of the GDP comes from National Capital Region and Calabar Zone, 50%. And then I was told by the ARC team the other day that 80% of the virus is in NCR and Calabar Zone. So just to give you an idea, and that's why the president is still locking us down, because we have the highest incident. As you know, Metro Manila has about 17 cities that make up Metro Manila and the surrounding provincial areas. So we will, I think, continue to be locked down for a little bit more. The other thing I think will help is Globe and Smart get ready. They're trying to introduce a new 5G technology that will give you guys a lot more speed. Hopefully it can happen over the next 6 to 12 months. I really don't know. Of course, with lockdowns in certain provincial areas, it's hard really to do much of anything. So those are a couple of comments that I think is very important as we move forward. I want to thank the panel for doing a great job today. Thank you, guys. I want to thank the board of HIMAP for inviting me to join you guys. I'm always here to help my friends from the sector, both from AmCham's side and my other hats that I wear from time to time. We're here to help you guys. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Junie. I will turn it back now to Bing to have her closing comments.
Thank you very much, Don, and thank you very much to our panelists, Prince, Joey, as well as Jamea. So that was a very interesting and productive conversation that we've had. Although I do understand that we still have a lot of questions that have been left unanswered. So there's another session that we're scheduling. Though unfortunately Friday is a holiday, so I guess that would be a week after next. But anyway, just to summarize or some key things from the conversation, I think right now we're focused on two things. One is how do we bring back our employees on site and continue on with regular business as usual. That's one. Second is really what type of services are we providing moving forward, knowing that there had been a lot of disruptions in our community, in our markets. So those are the two basic, I guess, issues that we are faced right now. So on the first one, I think apart from all the discussion points, one is clear. There has to be mass testing for all of, well, not just the community, but also to our employees. So unless there's mass testing as well as contact tracing, I don't think the confidence level of our employees to come back to the workplace would be high. So that's one. On the new markets or new services that we need to work on, I guess in any planning initiative that we have, I think we really focus on one, the industry that we would be marketing to. Second is on the geography, as well as third, the type of service. So I guess in terms of the industry, we're lucky to be in the healthcare sector because that's something that most of us, well, that's something that's needed globally. No? So I think with the COVID situation, healthcare is a main concern. So all of our members are definitely fortunate to be in this particular industry. Second, in terms of geography, it is global. So I guess the markets that we serve, particularly or majority of which is in the United States, there is still a large demand for resources coming from us or for the services that we do provide. So in fact, we had been a backup for most of their on-site people that happen to be, well, unavailable given all of those issues on site. No, so we're in terms of geography, I think we're open and we're still continuing on with the geography or the markets that we're serving. I think the third item is really in terms of the type of services. We said that since there had been a lot of disruptions, even the type of services that we are providing are disrupted. Now it's more digital. And so what we can expect would be the rise of, the intelligent process automation as well as analytics. This would play a major role and this become drivers for the types of services that we will provide moving forward. So, and we can also look at other services that we haven't really touched, that being, the population health services, the clinical trials. I think now more than ever, everybody is scrambling to have the next vaccine or the next drug that would will resolve all our issues. So a lot of companies are now into clinical trials. So I guess we would have a heyday in terms of offering the services that clinical trials would require, even the pharmacovigilance. And these are actually being offered right now, but not everyone amongst our members. So I guess those are the types of services that we can also take a look and make sure that we are prepared in terms of the capabilities of our employees, as well as the types of, the business model that we would want to implement moving forward. So I guess those things would be subject to other sets of conversations in the future. But for now, let's go on with finding out how do we now move to that May 15 ECQ lifting. So again, wait for our announcement for the next sets of sessions with you. So again, thank you very much to everyone, Don, Prince, Jamea, as well as Joey, and of course, Bachi, Judy, and the entire members of the HIMAP board. So good afternoon and thank you.